Hey everyone, LaMontagnard89 here. I just thought that, I know it's been a while, and we've actually, in Richard II, gone through quite a bit in the way of rehearsal, so I thought I'd just bring you up to speed with some of the things that we've been noticing about Richard II. First off, we did all of our table work rehearsals. For those of you not familiar with what that is, table work, very particularly important for things like Shakespeare, is when everyone just sits around at a table, reads through the scene, and goes through the language. What does this mean? What does that mean? You know, who am I directing these lines to? There's not a lot of stage directions in these plays. There's also not a lot of commentary. It's very, you're on your own. So I brought up my Arden, which is the big Richard II book that has every meaning of everything. And we sit down and we just pick through it and we make sure that we have what words to stress in the lines, things like that. And we've done that for the entire play, really. So first we do that. We organized all the rehearsals. We did all the table work there. There weren't really too many problems with that because most of the lines that were particularly obscure that people would have just said, oh my god, the audience is never going to get that, most of those were cut from the play when I did my cutting of it. But there are definitely a few things where it's a concern. Everyone has to be very demonstrative. When we finally do put the play on its feet, people know that they have to gesticulate to move accordingly to indicate other characters who they're speaking to. Things of that nature. That's what you get in table work. And then later we're currently doing blocking, which is where you put people on the stage and have them walk about and do their thing and stand up and sit down and turn to each other and move about. And that is much more interesting. That is where we're running up into our first big block, and that's something we're actually dealing with tomorrow at a little workshop. But what we're doing right now is dealing with how to make our all-female cast play men. That is a very common problem. Most people, you do things you don't even realize as male or female that really are very expressive of your gender and things that people don't usually realize. We had someone ask, can I put my hand on my hip? Yes, men do that, but it's done in a different way with a different inflection in the body language that we can't really do as easily with female performers. We have nixed the idea of using fake facial hair because we thought it would look too hard, like, oh, we're trying to make them look like men. We're not trying to have them pass as men. We just want them playing male characters. So we've talked with a few people about, as you may notice, I'm using a bit of a low voice right now. I can use a very high voice, but for our performers, we're trying to direct them, especially those playing male characters, into the lower chest voice so that it sounds more resonant. These are men. They are men in challenging, dangerous situations, so they would be speaking really from their chest. They wouldn't be going up even into their, for men. So it's okay that it sounds like you're pitching it a little lower because they would be, in a confrontational type of scene, which many of these scenes are. You'd be going there with your voice. Even a man would be doing that. So it's okay. It'll sound lower, and it will sound like it is a lower range. And both of those work. Other things about this play, a very fun thing, just to specifically mention one scene, a phenomenon that I thought was very fun. There's a scene 1-4, Act 1, Scene 4, that has always been a little problematic for me as I read the play, as I think about the play, which is a scene where Richard is told that John Gaunt, the Duke of Lancaster, is dying. Richard's reaction is basically, well, good, because he wants to take the Duke of Lancaster's estate and use that wealth for his war. So basically how the scene goes is something like this, like, the Duke of Lancaster's dying, good. And that's kind of freaky. Everyone's like, wait, he just reacted very positively to the news that someone's about to die. That's not okay. And for some reason, everyone in that scene loves this scene. And just the way that they were able to come together and perform this was particularly interesting to me because it's a short scene, and it's not one that I consider particularly important, but everyone just happened to really like it because of how quirky and weird it is, that they just really got married to it and just really loved it. It actually starts out before Richard hears of John Gaunt's impending death, and it starts with Richard griping about Henry being so popular with the commoners and being so he basically will go around and he'll appeal to commoners, and Richard doesn't understand why Henry does this. So he starts making fun of Henry and that he does this. So it's a very fun, sarcastic, silly little scene. And then, of course, it's like, John Gaunt is dying, good, which kind of weirds people out. When we read it at read-through, people were shocked. But by the time we got around to it during table work, the people in that scene were having a lot of fun with it. So that was a fun, specific little thing, something I did not expect coming out of this rehearsal process. And other things that we've come up with today at blocking rehearsal for one of these scenes, we came up with actually something that wasn't canonically in the scene, but rather we wanted to stress that these three conspirators were in danger from what they were doing. This is right after John Gaunt dies. Three people start treasonously plotting, essentially, against Richard. So we came up with something to sort of threaten their conversation so that we could realize the stakes are high, because it could just seem like three people standing around talking, but instead we want to raise the stakes, show that this is treason, this is difficult for them to say. It's a very dangerous thing to say, so they have to be considering their safety as they're talking about it. So we have someone come in and actually threaten the safety of their conversation, and everyone has to, and we get to see their reaction to that, which will inform the audience this is a more dangerous conversation than it may at first appear. We also are having a lot of fun with some of the, not fight scenes, but very confrontational scenes. We haven't done the fight scenes yet because we do not have hold of our fight choreographer yet, but we will have hold of him soon. So other than that, I think that's basically what we are up to. We're not up to the work-throughs, which is where we're going to get to the acting of the scene on its feet. We're off book day is a week from today. When the cast realized that, they were kind of freaked out. And we did decide ultimately to use British accents for a few reasons. And the reason why I mention it now, off book day will be on accent day. The reason why we chose to do British accents is because when people think Shakespeare, I think it will help people get into their characters, into the feel of this elevated play. If they are using an accent, a lot of people link the two. We will, of course, reserve the right if a few days afterwards there are still people who don't really have the accent to nix it and just sort of nip that in the bud right there. But we are asking people to learn the British accent. We have accent tapes that we send out to everybody. Files. I mean, they used to be tapes, but someone turned them into computer files, which is helpful. And now I'm emailing those around. So that is pretty much what we've been up to. And as we get into the work-throughs, that is going to be where a lot of the big interesting stuff comes up, the big interesting directorial decisions, as it were. Besides director, just news for any of you who might be interested. We did, one of our smaller characters was someone who realized they had more of a time commitment with other things than they thought. We did try to replace them, but since that was not possible on such short notice, and since we need people in for the blocking rehearsals, I am now filling in as Lord Bagot, one of these smaller crony characters in the play. I'm on Team Richard. My character's on Team Richard, not Team Henry. So I'm part of the Team Richard. I'm the anti-Lancastrian person that I am. We have a bit of a rivalry going on the email list between the Team Richard and Team Henry people. So that's fun too, taking our rivalry into the real world. It's good. It's a friendly rivalry though. We're not actually going to kill each other yet. So with that, I shall bid you adieu for now, and I will keep you updated as we get through the blocking and work through rehearsals. If anything interesting comes up, I will let you know. So farewell.